This is the demonstration for the turkey paint night. Now, this kind of comes like a puzzle. It all fits into place, but it does have a bunch of separate pieces. So you want to make sure you have all of what you see here intact. You have this outer piece. You have one layer of feathers, the second layer, the third layer, a body, two eyeballs, two little feet, a beak, and the little gobble pieces here. There's about two. Some materials you're going to need are the paints, paint brushes, water cup, paper towel, and some sort of mixing surface that doesn't absorb water. So here I'm using almost like a magazine quality paper that's plastic-like. You could use tin foil, you can use saran wrap, magazine paper, whatever you have. So I'm going to start now really with whatever section you want, but let's start with the body so that while that's drying, we'll be able to put all these other pieces in and they won't contaminate each other. So I'm gonna actually take it apart right now and put some of the pieces to the side. Now make sure you keep in mind that these stay facing upward like they fit in the puzzle. You don't want to flip it when you put it to the side. So keep everything upright. So my feet will stay perfectly intact. And I just want the body. This piece you actually do not have to paint. You don't see it. It's more of a support base for your turkey. So I have my mixing surface here, and I'm going to start with the brown. Now, this may be the brown you have, it may not be, but this is called burnt umber, and it's a very dark brown. So I definitely want to add a little bit of white to it to give it some dimension as opposed to almost a black color. So I'm going to go over to my paint, and I'm going to take some white and mix it with that burnt umber. And you could see it's so dark it actually almost starts to form a gray instead of a brown. So what I can do now is add some warmer colors like yellow or orange if you have. Clean my brush before I put it into the next paint color. So we'll do a little bit of yellow here, and I'll take a little bit of orange. Let's see what that does. Perfect. So it's starting to warm it up, give it more of a brown rather than a gray. You want to make sure you mix enough too so that you can coat the whole surface, because wood is very absorbent. It's going to suck up your paint. So I'll do a little more orange and I think we'll be good to go. And now I'll just go ahead and paint my little turkey body. Now there's a lot of paint in my brush. I loaded up my brush while I was mixing, so I kind of roll it out onto the wood. Now the paint tends to glob on the sides, especially in these smaller areas. So I kind of just go in with a brush that's fairly dry and kind of just get any globs that may be sitting or dripping in there. Now the turkey usually has a texture that's fluffy, feathery, soft. Right now, all we see is a flat brown. So to give it that texture, I'm going to add a little bit of white while the paint is wet. So you can see here, it's still glistening, it's still wet. I'm gonna dip my brush, my dry brush, in a little tiny bit of white, really little bit. In fact, that might be too much. I wipe some off. And I'm just kind of gonna lightly wisp my brush onto here in the same direction that the body is going in. It's like kind of circular. A little more white. And you'll see the white will actually blend in with the brown since it's still wet. So if it's coming out shocking like that, you can just keep squishing it into the brown and it'll eventually blend. So that gave it a little bit of a feathery look. Again, I'm following the direction of the head a little bit here, that bend. And if you did too much white, you can always go back in with your brown and touch it up. So let's put that off to the side and let it dry. Now I'm going to move on to the feather part here. So you really can do whatever color configuration that you want, but if we're referring to the picture we displayed for the turkey, I used yellow on the innermost layer here of feathers. I can remove the two outer ones and put them off to the side. Make sure my brush is clean and dry, and I will go ahead and start painting it yellow. And just like before, you want to go in with a relatively dry brush just to clean up those inner sides that have globs of paint in them. Now it's time for the middle layer. So the middle layer of feathers here is going to be orange. Now if you don't have orange in your paint kit, it's red and yellow mixed together. Or if you have orange, you can use it straight out of the bottle. So for those of you who need a hand mixing, you're going to take a little bit of red. Red is very powerful, so you'll probably need more yellow than you do red. Mix that up, and you see how powerful the red is? It's really taking over despite having more yellow. So I'll clean my brush again and add some yellow. So I think this is a nice orange, and I'll go ahead and start painting. We can go ahead and put this one to the side. Last but not least, we have our outer feather layer, and we're going to paint this one red. So make sure your brush is clean and dry. Okay, so now our turkey body should be relatively dry, and we're going to make sure that the eyes fit perfectly in here. So if it's not quite fitting like a puzzle, you're going to want to rotate it and find where it fits nice and snug. Once it fits perfectly in the holes of the turkey's body, you're going to then lightly lift up the turkey and make sure the eyes stay exactly the way they are. We're going to give this turkey some friendly looking cartoon eyes. So we'll start by painting both of them completely white, trying your very best to keep it in this exact orientation. You do not want to move it around. And again, you want to make sure it fits perfectly in the body. You have it facing the right way. And then you can just slowly pick up the turkey and keep the beak intact. So let's start by making the top of this orange. So if you have to mix that again, that's red and yellow, or you can just use orange right out of the bin. And I'm only going to paint it about halfway like this. I'll clean my brush, and I'm going to make the bottom half of it yellow. Now you're going to clean your brush, dry it really well. And right in the middle where the yellow and the orange meet, you just kind of want to brush upwards and downwards, just slightly onto the next color to create this nice gradient. Now we can do the little gobble pieces. So I will get my turkey template here and see where it fits and make sure I have it in the correct orientation. Perfect. So I'm going to slowly lift up the turkey. And since these are just going to be red, it's okay if you move them around. So I will take my brush and paint both of them red. Okay, so now we can focus on the eyes since they've dried. Again, keeping them in place. And now I'm going to make 2 small blue circles. Now you should have blue in your kit along with white. So I'm gonna mix blue and white together to get a nice light blue. So just a little bit of blue goes a really long way. I'll clean my brush and I will grab some white. And I'm going to mix it up nice together. So here you just want to make medium-sized circles to fit within the whites here. You want to try to get these 2 light blue circles as close in size as possible. I know it can be tricky with the brush, so if you have anything that's already round that you can stamp in the paint and put it on the eye, that may be helpful. So while we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to do the feet. Just like we did with the turkey body, I want to make sure they fit and they're facing the correct way. Then we can remove the outside piece. These will be painted orange, just like the second layer of feathers and the top of the beak. Same orange. Now we're going to move on to the very, very outer edge, sort of like the outline here. And we're going to paint it black to sort of emphasize what's going on in the center. It serves almost as a frame or an outline. And while we have the black out, we can make 2 smaller circles within the light blue ones. This will be the pupils of the turkey's eyes. So now they're starting to look a little more realistic and fun. And now our very last step is just putting a little bit of life into these eyes, one step further, by putting highlight in the pupils. So that shows that they're looking into light and that their eyes are shiny. So I'll dip a little bit into the white and I'm just going to do 2 dots like that. Same thing on the other side. Now once all of our pieces are dry, we can start to put it all together. So we can start with our base piece. Then we'll put the black outline in so it holds everything in place. I'll put the outermost feathers in next. Then the middle ones. Then the yellow ones. Next we'll put the turkey body, the turkey feet, the turkey beak, the little gobble pieces, and last but not least, the eyes that give it all the personality. If you're interested in adding a little finishing touch, you could also add a little bit of highlight to the gobble there and make it look shiny too. So now we're all finished. It kind of sits together like a puzzle. You could drill this together, you could wood glue all the pieces together, or you could keep it as is and make it sort of like a game that you can take apart and put back together. Thank you for watching and happy holidays.